Wrong house, wrong black boy, doesn't matter. Time for a lesson. Detective Frank Wilson's boot explodes through Brian Davis's front door at 12:03 a.m. Wood splinters shower across the entryway like shrapnel. 4 officers storm through the destroyed doorframe, tactical flashlights slicing through Henderson's subdivision darkness. Brian emerges from his bedroom in boxer shorts and a t-shirt, hands raised. But something's off about his posture. Too controlled. Too professional. Get your black ass on the ground before I put it there myself. Wilson shoves Brian face first into his own living room floor. Brian doesn't fight back, doesn't beg. His breathing stays steady, like he's been trained for this exact situation. Which is strange. Very strange. Some doors shouldn't be kicked down. Some men aren't who they appear to be. And some mistakes have consequences that reach far beyond one corrupt cop's imagination. In 10 minutes, this house will be surrounded. Wilson's world is about to change forever. And the quiet man on his living room floor? He's not nearly as helpless as he looks. The destroyed door hangs off its hinges. Wilson feels powerful, in control. He has no idea how wrong he is. 3 hours earlier, Brian Davis waters his front lawn in Henderson subdivision. Tuesday routine at 9:15 p.m. The sprinkler system needs manual adjustment again. 3rd time this month. His neighbors wave from their driveways, heading home from late shifts at Allegiant Stadium, McCarran Airport, and the strip casinos that never sleep. "Evening, Brian," calls Mrs. Patterson from across the street, wrestling grocery bags from her Honda Civic. "Working late again?" "Consulting work," he replies with practiced ease, adjusting the spray nozzle. "Client presentation tomorrow morning. Technology implementation for a security firm. You know how these corporate types are about their deadlines." She doesn't know how it really is. None of them do, Mrs. Patterson thinks Brian helps companies install computer systems. Brian's duplex sits quietly among cookie-cutter homes built for middle management and civil servants. Solar panels glint under streetlights. Xeriscaped yards showcase HOA-approved desert landscaping. Rock gardens instead of grass. The kind of neighborhood where everyone minds their business and assumes their neighbors lead ordinary, predictable lives just like theirs. His mailbox overflows with consulting invoices from Dataflow Solutions LLC, home improvement catalogs, pizza coupons, and credit card offers. Electric bills under Brian Davis's name showing moderate usage. Netflix subscription automatically renewed. Gym membership at 24-Hour Fitness on Eastern Avenue. Normal suburban paper trail built over 18 careful months. Nothing suspicious. Nothing federal. Brian has perfected this middle-class camouflage down to the smallest detail. The garage holds a modest silver Toyota Camry with 87,000 miles, Craftsman gardening tools still dusty from weekend yard work, and cardboard boxes labeled marketing materials that actually contain real marketing brochures and software manuals. Neighbors see a divorced consultant rebuilding his life after moving from California following a messy separation. They don't see the man who disappears for 3 or 4 days at a time, returning with the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that comes from tracking dangerous people through casino back rooms, police union meetings, and late-night money drops in warehouse districts. His refrigerator displays Emma's school photos, his 12-year-old daughter who lives with his ex-wife Jennifer in Phoenix. Soccer team schedules magneted next to grocery lists. Parent-teacher conference reminders. Pizza delivery magnets. Normal divorced dad stuff scattered across stainless steel. The kind of personal details that make cover stories not just believable, but genuinely lived in. Real relationships with real consequences. At 9:47 p.m., Brian's secure Samsung phone buzzes once with an encrypted message from Special Agent Sarah Johnson at FBI Las Vegas field office. Progress update needed on Operation Clean Sweep. Wilson's crew has accelerated their timeline significantly. Casino money is moving through police union accounts faster than expected. Captain Rodriguez getting nervous about federal attention. Brian types back carefully. Target remains completely unaware. Network mapping 97% complete. Financial trails confirmed through 3 casino sources. Recommend proceed to Phase 3 within 48 hours maximum. He powers down the phone, slides it into a hidden compartment behind his bathroom mirror next to his service Glock 19 and leather federal credentials wallet. Returns to being suburban consultant Brian Davis, who watches Netflix true crime documentaries and complains about HOA fees at monthly meetings. At 11:15 p.m., he settles into bed with his worn paperback copy of Tom Clancy's Clear and Present Danger. Ironic reading choice, considering his actual life makes Clancy's political fiction look like harmless children's bedtime stories. The house feels peaceful tonight, safe, ordinary, exactly as designed through months of careful preparation. Wilson's about to shatter that carefully constructed peace forever. 12:03 a.m. Brian's front door explodes inward like a bomb detonating. Las Vegas Metro Police, search warrant! Detective Frank Wilson leads the charge through the destroyed door frame, followed by Officers Martinez, Thompson, and Garcia. 4 tactical flashlights slice through Henderson subdivision darkness like predatory eyes hunting prey. Brian jolts awake in his bedroom, heart hammering against his ribs. Hands where we can see them! Get up! Now! Brian raises his hands slowly, deliberately. Federal training kicks in automatically. Comply, observe, survive, gather intelligence. Wilson's flashlight beam blinds him temporarily. The acrid smell of Wilson's cheap cologne mixes with pure adrenaline and freshly splintered wood fragments scattered across his hardwood floors. Step out of bed. Keep those hands visible or I'll drop you right here. Brian complies without hesitation. Boxer shorts and a faded gray FBI Academy t-shirt that Wilson can't read clearly in the chaotic darkness. Wilson shoves him toward the living room with unnecessary brutality, rough hands patting down for weapons that aren't there. What's this about, officers? Brian asks. His voice stays remarkably calm, too calm for someone being brutalized at midnight. Shut your mouth. You'll find out when we decide to tell you. Mrs. Patterson's porch light flickers across the street like a beacon. Then another neighbor's light. Then 3 more. Henderson subdivision doesn't see midnight police raids. Ever. Neighbors emerge cautiously onto their driveways, cell phones already recording everything. Ring doorbells capture the destruction in high-definition digital evidence that will haunt Wilson later. Wilson handcuffs Brian with deliberate, punishing force. Metal bites deep into his wrists, cutting circulation. Brian doesn't resist or complain. His breathing remains controlled, professional, exactly like someone who's been trained for this exact scenario. Search warrant for what specific crime? Brian tries again, using precise legal language. I said, shut up, boy, don't make me repeat myself again. That racial slur hangs in the night air like poisonous gas. Mrs. Patterson's 17-year-old son starts live streaming on Instagram stories. Police brutality begins trending in Henderson within 4 minutes of the door being kicked. Officer Martinez sweeps through Brian's kitchen methodically, overturning drawers, spilling coffee grounds and utensils across clean counters. Thompson ransacks the master bedroom, throwing clothes from dresser drawers. Garcia photographs everything with his department-issued digital camera. Standard search protocol being executed. Except there's no visible warrant anywhere in sight. Where's your search warrant paperwork? Brian asks quietly, professionally. Wilson backhands him hard across the mouth without warning. You don't ask questions in my city. We ask questions. You answer or suffer consequences. Blood trickles from Brian's split lip down his chin. He doesn't wipe it away. Can't with handcuffs restraining his movement. Neighbors gasp audibly from their windows and doorways. More phones start recording the assault. Social media notifications ping constantly. Brian? Mrs. Patterson calls from her driveway, voice shaking with concern. Brian, honey, are you okay? What's happening? Ma'am, step back inside your house immediately, Wilson shouts aggressively. This is official police business. Do not interfere. She doesn't step back inside. Instead, she calls 911, describing what she's witnessing to emergency dispatch in real time. 7 other neighbors follow her example. Emergency services receive multiple separate calls about possible police brutality in progress at 447 Sunrise Lane. Brian studies Wilson's face carefully in the scattered, chaotic flashlight beams, bloodshot eyes indicating alcohol consumption, whiskey smell on his breath mixing with rage. This isn't legitimate police business. This is personal, vengeful, targeted intimidation disguised as law enforcement. Martinez emerges from the kitchen empty-handed. Nothing suspicious in there, Frank, just normal kitchen stuff. Thompson returns from the bedroom equally frustrated. Clean. Too clean. Like he was expecting us. Wilson's visible frustration builds dangerously. Whatever evidence they came looking for, they're not finding it anywhere. Brian's cover identity remains absolutely perfect. Consulting materials scattered naturally, family photos positioned believably, normal suburban life with 0 cracks showing. But Wilson's growing desperation is about to turn violent. The Ring doorbell footage spreads faster than wildfire through Henderson's Nextdoor app. Mrs. Patterson's live stream gains 47 viewers in 3 minutes, then doubles every 30 seconds as shares multiply across Facebook and Instagram. Emergency dispatch receives 9 separate 911 calls reporting police brutality in progress at 447 Sunrise Lane within 6 minutes. "This is unconscionable," whispers Mr. Carter from 2 houses down, his iPhone recording through his living room window. "They're treating him like an animal. Where's their warrant? Where's their supervisor? This isn't how police are supposed to behave." Wilson drags Brian across his own living room by the handcuff chain, metal cutting deeper into his wrists with each violent jerk. Brian stumbles but doesn't fall completely. His balance stays centered, athletic, controlled despite the restraints. Neighbors notice how he moves, trained, deliberate, nothing like a panicked civilian under brutal assault. "Where's the money?" Wilson demands, slamming Brian against his dining room wall with savage force. Family photos of Emma rattle in their frames, glass cracking audibly. "We know you've been talking to people, making phone calls, asking questions about things that don't concern your black ass." Brian says nothing. His calculated silence enrages Wilson further. "I'm talking to you, boy. Are you deaf or just stupid? Answer me when I'm speaking to you." Thompson emerges from the garage, shaking his head in visible frustration. "Nothing out there either, Frank. Just car maintenance stuff and lawn equipment. Guys got detailed receipts for everything going back 2 years. The crowd outside grows rapidly in the summer heat. 12 neighbors now, phones raised like electronic torches in the darkness. Mrs. Patterson calls her daughter Sarah, who works as a producer at Channel 8 News. "Something terrible is happening to Brian," she whispers urgently into her phone. "They're hurting him, and I don't think they have any legal right to be here at all." Garcia returns from the bathroom search, equally empty-handed and increasingly uncomfortable. No drugs anywhere, no weapons stashed, no cash bundles, no paraphernalia. This guy's cleaner than my grandmother's spotless kitchen. Wilson's face darkens with each negative report. This was supposed to be simple, straightforward intimidation. Break in, find evidence of Brian snooping around casino operations, plant drugs if absolutely necessary, teach him a permanent lesson about staying in his proper lane. Instead, they're performing an obviously illegal home invasion in front of multiple recording devices. "Check his computer hard drive," Wilson orders desperately. "Phone records, bank statements, email history, social media accounts. Something incriminating is here somewhere." Martinez boots up Brian's Dell desktop computer. The screen fills with consulting presentations, boring client emails, and Netflix viewing history. Spotify playlists featuring classic rock. Amazon purchase receipts for lawn equipment and household supplies. Nothing remotely suspicious anywhere. Brian's digital footprint screams, "Boring suburban contractor who watches too much television." "Frank," Martinez says quietly, growing visibly uncomfortable, Maybe we got bad intelligence here. This guy looks completely legitimate. Intel's rock solid, Wilson snaps back aggressively. Rodriguez confirmed it personally this afternoon at the union meeting. This piece of garbage has been asking pointed questions about union business, about our casino security arrangements. Someone's definitely paying him to sniff around our operations. Brian's ears perk up sharply at Rodriguez. Captain Miguel Rodriguez, Las Vegas Metro Police Union President. The man taking monthly kickbacks from Bellagio security contracts. The spider at the center of the corruption web Brian's been methodically mapping for 18 months. Outside, the crowd reaches 15 concerned residents. Mrs. Patterson's daughter Sarah arrives with veteran Channel 8 news cameraman Pete Kowalski, equipment already rolling. We received multiple reports of possible police misconduct, she announces clearly to Wilson through the destroyed front door. Can you provide any official comment on the nature of this investigation? Wilson panics visibly. Media attention wasn't part of tonight's plan whatsoever. This was supposed to be quiet, off-the-books intimidation, not public spectacle broadcast across social media platforms. This is an ongoing criminal investigation. No comment available to media. Clear the area immediately for officer safety. Do you have a valid warrant for this residential search? Reporter Sarah Patterson presses professionally. Wilson doesn't answer. Can't answer honestly, because there is absolutely no warrant. Thompson finds Brian's secure Samsung phone hidden behind the bathroom mirror. Got something interesting, Frank. Burner phone, password protected, heavy encryption. Wilson's eyes light up with vicious satisfaction. Now we're finally getting somewhere useful. Unlock it immediately. Can't crack it. Heavily encrypted. Government-grade security software. Brian's pulse quickens for the first time tonight. That phone contains 18 months of painstakingly gathered federal evidence. Surveillance photographs of corrupt officers. Wire recordings of casino meetings. Financial documents that could expose Operation Clean Sweep before arrests can be properly executed. Wilson grabs a hammer from Brian's garage toolbox, raises it menacingly above the phone's screen. Wait, Brian says quietly, showing his first real sign of genuine concern all evening. Wilson smiles like a predator finally sensing weakness in his prey. Now you want to talk to us? The neighbors outside press closer to the illuminated windows, phones recording every threatening word, social media posts multiplying exponentially across platforms. Justice for Brian trending across Las Vegas within 8 minutes. Brian makes a calculated decision that will change everything. That phone contains my daughter's photos, Brian says calmly. Personal family memories. Nothing illegal. Wilson studies Brian's face. Something's different about this guy. Most people would be crying by now, begging, breaking down under pressure. Brian Davis sits perfectly still, back straight, breathing controlled like he's meditating instead of being brutalized. You're awfully calm for someone whose house just got kicked in, Wilson observes suspiciously. Brian shrugs. Panic doesn't solve problems. Clear thinking does. That phrase stops Wilson cold. Clear thinking does. That's tactical doctrine. Military training, law enforcement academy language. Civilians don't talk like that under stress. Martinez notices it too. Frank, look at how he's sitting. Hands positioned for quick movement despite the cuffs. Eyes tracking all 4 of us simultaneously. This isn't normal civilian behavior. Brian realizes his training is showing. 18 months of suburban camouflage, and now professional instincts are bleeding through his cover. He adjusts his posture slightly, tries to look more helpless. Too late. What's your military background? Wilson demands. No military background, Brian answers truthfully. FBI Academy isn't military. Technically. Bullshit. You move like a cop, sit like a cop, talk like a cop. Outside, Mrs. Patterson's live stream reaches 300 viewers. Comments flood in from across Las Vegas. This man is too calm. Something's not right here. Why isn't he more scared? Thompson searches Brian's closet more carefully now, looking for uniforms, tactical gear, anything that explains Brian's unusual composure. Finds only consulting clothes and weekend casual wear. Check his shoes, Wilson orders. Boots. Look for tactical boots. Garcia examines Brian's footwear. Nike running shoes, Adidas sneakers, one pair of dress shoes for client meetings. No tactical boots, no military surplus, no law enforcement equipment anywhere. But Brian's behavior keeps triggering their cop instincts. You've been through this before, Wilson states. Not a question. Been through what? Interrogation, arrest. You know the drill too well. Brian stays silent. Wilson circles him like a predator studying unusual prey. Most civilians panic when 4 armed men kick down their door. You didn't even raise your voice. That's training. Professional training. Martinez finds Brian's gym membership card. 24-hour fitness. Says here he's in their self-defense classes. Krav Maga. Wilson's suspicion deepens. Self-defense, huh? What else you studying, Brian? Tactical driving? Weapons handling? Just trying to stay in shape after my divorce. The neighbors outside grow more organized. Sarah Patterson's news report goes live on Channel 8. Good evening. I'm reporting from Henderson, where police have conducted what appears to be a warrantless search of a resident's home. The man being detained shows unusual calm during this ordeal, leading to questions about his background. Wilson's radio crackles. Dispatch reports media on scene. Captain Rodriguez's voice comes through clearly. Wilson, what's your status? We're getting calls about news crews. Brian's ears perk up at Rodriguez's voice. The man he's been investigating is personally monitoring this raid. That confirms this isn't random police work. This is targeted intimidation ordered from the top. Everything's under control, Captain, Wilson lies into his radio. Better be. Make it quick and clean. Rodriguez clicks off. Wilson stares at Brian with new intensity. You know what I think? I think you're not just asking questions about casino business. I think you're working for someone. Internal affairs, maybe. Or worse. Brian's pulse quickens slightly. Wilson's getting dangerously close to the truth. I'm a technology consultant, nothing more. Technology consultants don't have federal-grade encryption on their phones. It's for client confidentiality. Wilson raises the hammer again. Last chance. Who are you really working for? The crowd outside has grown to 25 people. Multiple live streams running simultaneously. Henderson police trending on Twitter. The story is going viral in real time. Brian makes a calculated decision. He can't reveal his FBI identity yet, but he can plant seeds of doubt in Wilson's mind, make him nervous, make him make mistakes. You should be very careful, Detective Wilson, Brian says quietly. Is that a threat? It's advice. Some people have friends in high places. Wilson's confidence wavers for the first time tonight. Wilson's radio crackles again at 12:18 a.m. Captain Rodriguez sounds increasingly agitated through the static interference. Status report immediately, Wilson. What's your current situation? Still conducting the search, Captain. Targets being uncooperative, but we're making progress on the intelligence gathering. Find what we specifically discussed this afternoon and get out fast. Too much civilian attention developing. Neighbors calling media outlets. What we specifically discussed. Brian files that phrase away mentally as Wilson clicks off his radio. Clear evidence of premeditated conspiracy, not random police work or legitimate law enforcement activity. 3 blocks away in the Desert Inn parking lot, FBI Special Agent Sarah Johnson sits in an unmarked surveillance van, monitoring Brian's subcutaneous biometric tracker through real-time satellite feed. His heart rate spiked twice in the last 5 minutes. Not panic or fear, but professional recognition. Controlled interest. Chief's giving us subtle signals through biofeedback. She radios to the Federal Tactical Response Team positioned strategically around Henderson subdivision. Something's definitely accelerating our original timeline. Possible compromise situation developing. Back inside Brian's ransacked living room, Martinez discovers detailed financial documents in his mahogany desk drawer. Bank statements showing steady consulting income over 18 months. Credit reports. Investment portfolio summaries. Nothing remotely suspicious for a technology consultant. But Wilson examines them with unusual intensity for what should be a drug possession raid. This guy's got $47,000 in personal savings, Wilson announces to his team. What kind of consultant accumulates that much liquid cash? Someone who doesn't spend money on drugs or gambling, Brian suggests calmly, reasonably. Wilson backhands him again, harder this time. Brian's federal training kicks in automatically. He rolls with the impact, redirecting force, minimizing potential damage to his jaw and teeth. Another distinctly professional response that Wilson notices immediately. There, right fucking there. You know exactly how to take a hit without sustaining serious injury. That's advanced combat training, not civilian self-defense classes. Thompson finds Brian's laptop computer browsing history cached in temporary files. Frank, you need to look at this immediately. He's been systematically researching Nevada Police Union finances. News articles about casino security contracts. Public database searches on law enforcement salary discrepancies. Wilson's face goes visibly white beneath his tactical flashlight beam. What the hell are you investigating us for? Who's paying you? Research for a consulting client. Casino security technology implementation. Bullshit. What client specifically? Give me names. Brian maintains calculated silence. Wilson's desperation grows increasingly visible to his backup officers. Outside, the concerned crowd reaches 30 neighbors and growing. Mrs. Patterson's Channel 8 live stream has accumulated 4,000 active viewers across multiple social media platforms. Comments pour in continuously. Call the FBI immediately. This looks completely illegal. Where's their search warrant? The story spreads across social media faster than Wilson can possibly contain or control it. 3 miles away, Sarah Johnson receives encrypted status updates from Detective Martinez, the clean cop wearing an FBI wire for 18 months of deep cover work. His voice transmission comes through crystal clear. Wilson's entering panic mode. Found detailed financial research on police unions and casino connections. Brian's not breaking character completely, but his professional training keeps bleeding through his cover. We need extraction protocols ready for immediate deployment. Martinez, still performing his role as corrupt backup officer, secretly photographs Brian's research materials with a hidden camera sewn into his tactical vest. Additional evidence for the expanding federal case. Garcia searches Brian's attached garage more thoroughly, systematically. Finds detailed maintenance records for the Toyota Camry. Oil change receipts from Jiffy Lube. Tire rotation documentation from Discount Tire. Everything appears perfectly normal for suburban vehicle ownership except for one notable detail. The handwritten mileage logs show frequent trips to Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Wilson mutters suspiciously. That's where Rodriguez mentioned the Federal Organized Crime Task Force operates their field office from. Brian's blood runs cold. Rodriguez knows about Operation Clean Sweep's Phoenix operational connections. The corruption network runs significantly deeper than federal investigators originally realized. Thompson discovers Brian's secure Samsung phone has attempted multiple connections to encrypted federal communication networks. The phone's metadata, visible in the security access logs, shows regular communication with confirmed FBI servers. Frank, this phone's been actively communicating with federal law enforcement networks, encrypted channels, government protocols. Wilson grabs Brian by the throat with both hands. You're a federal agent. You're a fucking undercover federal agent. I'm a technology consultant with government clients. Complete bullshit. No private consultant needs this level of military-grade encryption. No consultant researches police union finances this extensively. No consultant stays this professionally calm under intense interrogation. Wilson's radio erupts with Rodriguez's increasingly frantic voice. Abort operation immediately. Abort now. Federal vehicles spotted approaching the neighborhood perimeter. Extract your team and get out immediately. But Wilson's too consumed with rage to listen to direct orders. 18 months of taking substantial casino money, and now this seemingly ordinary suburban consultant might expose their entire corruption network. "Where's your federal badge hidden?" Wilson screams, violently tearing through Brian's personal belongings. "Where are your official credentials stored?" Martinez's hidden FBI camera captures Wilson's explicit confession about casino money payments, federal evidence accumulating in real time for prosecution. Sarah Johnson's voice crackles urgently through Martinez's concealed earpiece. Target's cover blown completely. Wilson knows Brian's federal law enforcement. Initiate emergency extraction procedures in 60 seconds maximum. The neighbors outside clearly hear Wilson screaming about federal agents through the destroyed front door. Social media platforms explode with wild speculation. Hashtag federal agent trends nationally alongside hashtag Henderson police within minutes. Brian makes deliberate eye contact with Martinez, the only honest police officer in the room. Martinez gives an almost imperceptible professional nod. Federal backup is approaching fast. Wilson discovers Brian's spare FBI credentials hidden behind a false wall panel in the master bedroom closet. The black leather wallet contains his authentic federal identification. Special Agent Brian Davis, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Organized Crime Task Force Division. Wilson's entire corrupt world collapses instantly. "You son of a bitch! You're the FBI! You've been systematically investigating our operations for months." "Actually," Brian says with perfect calm, 18 months of comprehensive investigation." Wilson draws his service weapon, pointing it directly at Brian's forehead. "Federal agent or not, you're not walking out of this house alive tonight." Through the destroyed front door, multiple tactical flashlights begin approaching rapidly. Federal agents have arrived. Wilson's gun trembles against Brian's temple. "Drop your weapons and step back, or the Fed dies right here." But the tactical lights outside aren't federal backup. They're more corrupt cops responding to Rodriguez's emergency call. Sergeant Collins, Detective Hayes, and Officer Brennan, all part of the casino kickback network Brian has been mapping. "Situation's contained," Collins announces, entering through the destroyed door. "Perimeter secured. No federal vehicles in sight." Wilson's relief is visible. "Thank God. We need to end this problem permanently." Brian's heart rate spikes. His federal backup team thinks he's in control. They don't know Wilson found his credentials. Sarah Johnson's surveillance shows normal biometrics. Brian's training masks his genuine fear. Rodriguez wants him moved to a secondary location, Hayes reports. "Too many witnesses here, too much social media attention." "What secondary location?" Wilson asks. "Warehouse District, Pier 19. Same place we handled the Martinez problem." Martinez. Detective Carlos Martinez, who went missing 6 months ago. Brian thought Martinez had been transferred. Now he realizes Martinez is probably dead, murdered by this same group for asking too many questions. "Sir," the clean Detective Martinez interrupts carefully, "maybe we should follow proper procedures. Book him officially. Let the system handle—" "Shut up, Martinez," Collins snaps. "You're new to our arrangement. Rodriguez makes decisions about federal problems." Brian studies room dynamics. 7 corrupt officers now, 1 clean cop trying to protect him without blowing his own cover, 30 neighbors outside with cameras. This situation is escalating beyond anyone's control. Wilson presses his gun harder against Brian's skull. "You recorded our conversations, didn't you? Wire recordings? Financial documents? How much evidence do you have?" "Enough," Brian says quietly. "Enough for what? Arrests? Indictments? How many of us are you planning to destroy?" "All of you." Wilson hits Brian with the gun butt, opening a gash above his eyebrow. Blood streams down his face. The crowd outside gasps audibly, phones recording every brutal moment. "Load him in Collins's van," Wilson orders. "Take him to Pier 19. Rodriguez wants to question him personally before we make this problem disappear." Mrs. Patterson's daughter reports live. Police brutality escalating rapidly here in Henderson. The man appears to be bleeding from a head wound. Multiple officers are involved in what residents describe as excessive force. Rodriguez's voice crackles over all their radios simultaneously. Wilson, cease all radio communication immediately. Switch to backup channel 7. Media monitoring our frequencies. The corrupt officers switch to encrypted radio channels, but Martinez's FBI wire captures everything they say. This is getting too public, Hayes worries. Channel 8 has 4 camera crews en route. Social media's exploding. We need to abort. Can't abort now, Wilson responds desperately. He knows everything. 18 months of investigation. Financial records, wire recordings. If he talks, we're all facing federal prison. Collins opens his police van doors. Move him now, before more media arrives. Brian realizes this is his last chance to signal federal backup. He catches Martinez's eye and mouths silently, Phoenix Protocol. Phoenix Protocol, emergency extraction code for blown operations. Martinez nods almost imperceptibly. Wilson drags Brian toward the van, gun still pressed against his head. You should have minded your own business, Fed boy. Should have stayed out of Vegas. Actually, Brian says loudly enough for the neighbors to hear, I should have brought more backup. Wilson pauses. What backup? Your federal friends don't know where you are. Are you sure about that? Doubt flickers across Wilson's face. He keys his radio. Rodriguez, are we certain of no federal surveillance in the area? Negative federal presence confirmed, Rodriguez responds. Proceed with relocation and interrogation. But Rodriguez is wrong. Sarah Johnson's team has been monitoring everything through Martinez's wire and Brian's biometric tracker. Federal agents are positioning for tactical intervention. The crowd outside grows bolder. Mrs. Patterson steps forward with her phone. Officer, we need to see your warrant for this arrest. Step back, ma'am, or you'll be arrested for obstruction. On what charges? For asking to see proper documentation? Collins points his weapon toward the crowd. Everyone step back now! 30 neighbors with phones don't step back. They step closer, recording everything. Social media posts multiply exponentially. #CorruptCops trends nationally within minutes. Martinez keys his radio on the FBI frequency. Phoenix Protocol initiated. Request immediate tactical response. Officers threatening civilian crowds with weapons. Wilson forces Brian into the van. Drive to Pier 19. We end this tonight. As the van pulls away from Brian's house, Sarah Johnson's voice comes through Martinez's earpiece. Federal response teams converging on Pier 19. ETA 6 minutes. Maintain surveillance and report position. The neighbors watch helplessly as police drive away with their bloodied neighbor. Mrs. Patterson calls Channel 8 again. They're taking him to some warehouse. This isn't an arrest. This looks like a kidnapping. Rodriguez's voice crackles through all corrupt officer radios. Federal involvement confirmed. FBI task force active in Las Vegas. Operational security compromised. Prepare for scorched earth protocols. Scorched earth. Brian knows what that means from organized crime cases. They're planning to kill everyone who knows about their corruption. The police van speeds through empty Las Vegas streets toward the warehouse district. Brian sits handcuffed in the back, blood still trickling from his head wound. Wilson keeps his gun trained on him while Collins drives, and Hayes monitors police radio frequencies. Federal task force is real, Hayes reports grimly. Rodriguez just confirmed 18 months of investigation. They know about the casino money. They know about the union kickbacks. They know everything. Wilson's face contorts with rage and desperation. How long have you been recording us, you piece of shit? Long enough, Brian says quietly. For the first time in 18 months of deep cover work, Brian feels genuine fear. Not for himself, federal agents accept these risks, but for the innocent people his investigation might destroy. Mrs. Patterson and her neighbors. Detective Martinez trying to stay alive while maintaining his cover. His daughter Emma, who still doesn't know Daddy's real job involves hunting dangerous people. You ruined our lives, Collins says bitterly from the driver's seat. 20 years on the force. Good service record. Pension almost vested. Now what? Federal prison because of your investigation? Brian understands their desperation, but feels no sympathy. You ruined your own lives when you started taking casino money. Wilson pistol whips him again. Shut up. We're dead men because of you. 47 officers facing federal charges. Families destroyed. Children are going to grow up knowing their fathers are criminals. The van approaches Pier 19, an abandoned warehouse complex where Las Vegas Metro stores decommissioned vehicles. Perfect location for making problems disappear permanently. Brian's federal training recognizes the tactical disadvantage immediately. Isolated, no witnesses, multiple escape routes for the corrupt officers. Brian's secure phone, still in Wilson's possession, buzzes with an encrypted message. Sarah Johnson trying to reach him with extraction coordinates. Wilson answers instead. Federal bitch, your boy's about to have a very bad accident. As Sarah's voice comes through clearly. Detective Wilson, you're interfering with a federal investigation. Release Agent Davis immediately. Wilson laughs maniacally. Agent Davis is about to have a fatal encounter with some very dangerous criminals. Tragic loss of life during undercover operation gone wrong. He smashes the phone against the van's metal wall, destroying Brian's last communication link with federal backup. No more federal contact, Wilson announces triumphantly. Now you're completely alone. But Brian isn't completely alone. Detective Martinez, still wearing his FBI wire, follows in a separate patrol car. Federal agents are tracking his location through GPS. Sarah Johnson's tactical team is converging on Pier 19 from 3 directions. The van arrives at the abandoned warehouse. Collins parks behind stacks of rusted police vehicles where satellite surveillance can't penetrate. Wilson drags Brian out roughly, pushing him toward a corrugated metal building that looks like a slaughterhouse. This is where Carlos Martinez had his accident, Wilson explains with cruel satisfaction. I fell down some stairs, repeatedly, into a concrete mixer. Brian's blood runs cold. Detective Carlos Martinez, not the same person as their current clean Detective Martinez, was murdered here 6 months ago for investigating the same corruption network. Rodriguez will be here in 10 minutes, Hayes reports. I want to personally question the Fed about recorded evidence before we dispose of the problem. Wilson forces Brian into the warehouse. The smell hits him immediately. Old motor oil, rust, and something else. Something organic and rotten. Death. Scared now, Fed boy? Wilson taunts. No backup coming. No federal cavalry. Just you and us, and a very deep hole. Brian's training kicks in. Assess the environment, count exits, calculate distances, plan escape routes. But handcuffed and outnumbered 7-1, his options remain extremely limited. My daughter Emma, Brian says quietly. She's 12 years old, lives in Phoenix with her mother. If something happens to me, she'll never know what really happened to her father. Should have thought about that before you started investigating us, Collins responds without emotion. She thinks I'm a boring technology consultant, safe job, normal life. She'll spend years wondering why her daddy never came home. Wilson wavers slightly. He has children, too. Shut up about your kid. Emma wants to be a police officer when she grows up, says she wants to help people like her daddy does. She doesn't know her daddy hunts corrupt cops. I said shut up. But Brian continues, voice steady, despite his desperate situation. She's going to find out her father was FBI, going to read about this case in newspapers, going to learn that corrupt officers murdered him because he was trying to protect people. Hayes shifts uncomfortably. Wilson, maybe we should reconsider this approach. No reconsideration, Wilson screams. He destroys us. We destroy him. Simple. Through the warehouse skylights, distant helicopter rotors become audible. Wilson assumes it's police surveillance. He doesn't realize it's federal tactical support approaching Pier 19. Rodriguez's black sedan pulls up outside. The corrupt captain enters the warehouse, carrying a briefcase and wearing latex gloves. "Federal Agent Brian Davis," Rodriguez says formally, "you've caused considerable problems for our organization." "Your criminal organization," Brian corrects. Rodriguez backhands him casually. 18 months of surveillance, wire recordings, financial documentation. How much evidence exists and where is it stored? Brian remains silent. Rodriguez opens his briefcase, revealing torture instruments. "We have all night to extract information." Bait. Outside, Detective Martinez reports to Federal Command. "Subjects entered Warehouse Complex 7, armed and extremely dangerous. Recommend immediate tactical intervention." Sarah Johnson responds, "Federal team in position, initiating rescue operation in 60 seconds. But 60 seconds might be too late. 3 miles away, FBI Special Agent Sarah Johnson receives Detective Martinez's desperate transmission. "Federal agent in immediate mortal danger. Warehouse District, Pier 19, Building 7. Request emergency tactical intervention." "All units converge on target location," Sarah commands into her radio. "Federal agent under active threat. Authorization for deadly force granted. Move now." FBI tactical teams positioned throughout Las Vegas activate simultaneously. Black SUVs race through empty streets. Helicopter surveillance redirects to Pier 19. Federal marshals scramble from field offices across Nevada. The machinery of federal law enforcement mobilizes like a sleeping giant awakening. Inside the warehouse, Rodriguez examines his torture instruments methodically. "Federal investigations require federal evidence, Agent Davis. Tell us where your recordings are stored, and your death becomes quick instead of prolonged." Brian calculates timing. Federal backup needs 5 more minutes to reach optimal tactical position. He has to survive 5 minutes against 7 desperate, violent men. "Recordings are automatically uploaded to federal servers," Brian lies smoothly. "Encrypted cloud storage. Even if you kill me, evidence remains accessible to prosecutors." Rodriguez's confident expression wavers. "Bullshit. No agent operates with that level of automation." Modern federal investigations use advanced technology. Every conversation, every financial transaction, every corrupt meeting has been documented and preserved. Wilson kicks Brian in the ribs. "He's stalling, playing for time." "Time for what?" Rodriguez demands. "No federal backup knows this location." But Rodriguez is wrong. Sarah Johnson's tactical team has surrounded the warehouse complex. Snipers position on adjacent buildings. Surveillance drones map exit routes. Federal agents prepare for coordinated assault. Outside, Detective Martinez positions his patrol car to block the main escape route while maintaining his corrupt officer cover. His FBI wire transmits everything happening inside Building 7 to Federal Command. "Federal Response Team Alpha in position," Sarah hears through her earpiece. "Building secured from north and east approaches. Team Bravo positioned south and west," another voice reports. "All escape routes covered." Rodriguez begins Brian's interrogation with professional brutality. 18 months of investigation. How many officers are compromised? How many federal indictments are planned? Blood runs from Brian's nose, but he smiles despite the pain. "Rodriguez, you're about to find out personally." "What does that mean?" "Check your watch. What time is it?" Rodriguez glances at his wrist automatically. 12:47 a.m. "In exactly 3 minutes," Brian continues calmly, "federal agents are going to breach this building. You'll be in federal custody within 5 minutes. Your casino kickbacks, your union corruption, your murder of Carlos Martinez, all documented with sufficient evidence for life imprisonment." Wilson panics. He's bluffing. The feds don't know we're here. But doubt spreads through the corrupt officers like infection. They've been taking casino money for 3 years, living comfortable lives beyond their police salaries, now facing federal prosecution and decades in prison. "Check the perimeter," Rodriguez orders. "Confirm no federal surveillance." Hayes peers through dirty warehouse windows, sees nothing unusual. Federal tactical teams remain invisible in darkness, positioned beyond visual range with night vision equipment. All clear, Captain. No movement detected. Rodriguez relaxes slightly. Continue interrogation. Agent Davis provides full cooperation or suffers consequences. But Brian's confident demeanor unsettles them. Most victims break down under torture threats. Brian acts like he's already won. You seem remarkably calm for someone about to die, Rodriguez observes. I've been federal law enforcement for 20 years, Brian replies steadily. Faced worse threats than corrupt local cops playing criminals. Wilson hits him with brass knuckles, splitting his cheekbone. Show some fucking respect. Respect? Brian laughs despite bleeding profusely. For criminals wearing badges? For murderers who kill honest cops like Carlos Martinez? Rodriguez's radio crackles with dispatch reports. Multiple federal vehicles observed in warehouse district. FBI tactical teams confirmed. The corrupt officers exchange panicked glances. Impossible, Rodriguez whispers. How did they locate us? Brian's smile grows wider. Detective Martinez has been wearing federal wire for 18 months. Every word you've spoken tonight is recorded evidence. The corrupt officers stare at Martinez with sudden comprehension and rage. You son of a bitch! Wilson screams at Martinez. You're the federal rat! Martinez draws his service weapon, pointing it at Wilson. FBI! Everyone drop your weapons immediately! The warehouse erupts in chaos. 7 corrupt officers against 1 federal agent and 1 wired detective. Outside, Sarah Johnson hears gunshots through Martinez's FBI wire. Federal agent under fire! Breach immediately! Go! 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 Federal tactical teams explode through warehouse entrances simultaneously. Flashbang grenades detonate, disorienting the corrupt officers. Laser sights cut through smoke like red death. FBI, drop your weapons! Drop your weapons now! The siege of Pier 19 begins. Federal flashbang grenades explode like thunder, turning the warehouse into strobing chaos. Smoke fills the air as tactical teams pour through multiple entrances, red laser sights cutting through darkness like deadly fireflies. FBI, drop your weapons! Hands visible! Now! Wilson spins wildly, firing blind shots at advancing federal agents. Rodriguez dives behind rusted police equipment, still clutching his torture instruments. The corrupt officers scatter like roaches when lights come on. In the chaos, Brian rolls behind a concrete pillar, hands still cuffed behind his back. Detective Martinez engages Wilson in a firefight, muzzle flashes lighting their faces like deadly strobe lights. Federal agents, cease fire and surrender immediately! But Wilson's desperation overrides survival instinct. He's facing life imprisonment. Death seems preferable to decades in federal prison. Sarah Johnson's voice booms through a tactical megaphone. Captain Rodriguez, Detective Wilson, you're surrounded by federal agents. Drop your weapons and surrender. Rodriguez emerges from cover, hands raised, torture briefcase abandoned. Professional survival instincts overcome criminal desperation. Don't shoot! I'm surrendering! Wilson continues firing at federal agents, his shots wild and desperate. A federal sniper's bullet catches him in the shoulder, spinning him around. His weapon clatters across concrete. Officer down! Wilson screams. Officer needs assistance! You're not an officer, Special Agent Sarah Johnson announces as she approaches Wilson with federal handcuffs. You're a criminal wearing a badge. Federal tactical teams secure the warehouse systematically. 7 corrupt cops in custody. 1 clean detective safe. 1 federal agent was alive but bloodied. Sarah Johnson approaches Brian, keys ready for his handcuffs. Sorry about the delay, Chief. We wanted ironclad evidence before extraction. Brian stands slowly, professionally, as his federal credentials are returned to him. The handcuffs come off his wrists, leaving angry red marks. He straightens his shoulders, federal authority replacing suburban victims. Special Agent Johnson, Brian says formally. Operation Clean Sweep is concluded. Rodriguez stares in shock from federal handcuffs. Chief? What chief? Sarah Johnson smiles with professional satisfaction. Gentlemen, meet FBI Division Chief Brian Davis. He's not just a federal agent. He's the head of the FBI Organized Crime Task Force for the entire Southwest region. The corrupt officers' faces drain off color completely. "Division Chief," Hayes whispers. "We assaulted an FBI division chief?" "You kidnapped him," Sarah corrects. "Tortured him. Threatened to murder him. All felony assaults on the highest-ranking federal law enforcement officer in Nevada." Whoa. Wilson, bleeding from his shoulder wound, realizes the magnitude of their mistake. "Impossible. He's just a suburban consultant. We verified his background." "You verified his cover identity," Brian explains calmly, wiping blood from his face. 18 months of deep cover operation. Technology consultant Brian Davis was a federal legend created specifically to investigate your corruption network. Rodriguez shakes his head in denial. "No way, we had intelligence on him. Sources confirmed he was asking civilian questions about casino business." "Your sources were federal agents," Sarah reveals. "Detective Martinez, the casino security chief you trusted, the union accountant who provided financial records, all federal assets building evidence for RICO prosecution." Detective Martinez removes his FBI wire, handing it to Sarah. "Every conversation is recorded. Every bribe is documented. 18 months of federal evidence for prosecution." Brian addresses the corrupt officers directly. "Captain Rodriguez, you personally ordered my intimidation tonight. Detective Wilson, you assaulted a federal agent and threatened murder. That's not local police misconduct. That's federal terrorism." Hayes begins crying. 20 years on the force? My pension? My family? What happens to my kids?" "You should have considered your family before taking casino money," Brian responds without sympathy. Federal agents continue securing evidence throughout the warehouse. Crime scene photographers document torture instruments. Financial investigators seize Rodriguez's briefcase containing ledgers of corrupt payments. Wilson struggles against his federal handcuffs. "This is entrapment. Federal agents can't conduct undercover operations against local police." "Actually, we can," Brian corrects. "When local police commit federal crimes, when casino money crosses state lines, when corrupt officers murder federal informants like Carlos Martinez." Rodriguez's face goes white. "How do you know about Carlos?" "Federal investigation, Captain. We know everything." Sarah Johnson reads federal Miranda rights to each corrupt officer. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in federal court. You have the right to federal legal representation." Federal court, not local jurisdiction, not police union protection. Federal prosecution with mandatory minimum sentences. The warehouse is filled with federal agents, federal evidence teams, and federal prosecutors. The full weight of federal law enforcement focuses on 7 corrupt local cops who thought they were untouchable. Brian accepts a federal medical kit from Sarah, treating his injuries professionally. "Gentlemen, your corruption network is dismantled. 47 officers facing federal indictments. Casino connections severed. Union leadership arrested." 47 officers? Collins asks desperately. "How many people were you watching?" "Everyone," Brian answers simply. "For 18 months, we watched everyone." The federal agents escort their prisoners toward armored transport vehicles. Rodriguez makes eye contact with Brian one final time. "You destroyed us completely." "No, Captain. You destroyed yourselves. I just documented it." Federal justice has arrived in Las Vegas. Outside Pier 19, federal law enforcement transforms the warehouse district into a command center. FBI mobile units, U.S. Marshal vehicles, and helicopter searchlights create an impenetrable perimeter. "Phase 2 commences now," Brian announces into his secure phone. "Execute simultaneous arrests." Across Las Vegas, federal teams breach 43 locations. Corrupt officers dragged from homes in handcuffs. Police union headquarters raided. Casino offices seized. Rodriguez watches his empire collapse. "How many federal agents were involved?" "Enough," Brian answers. "FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals, IRS. When corruption involves organized crime, every federal agency responds. Wilson still can't process their defeat. We were careful. Encrypted phones, laundered money through legitimate accounts. You faced federal professionals with unlimited resources, Sarah Johnson corrects. Detective Martinez approaches Brian. Chief, complete evidence secured. Every conversation is recorded. Outstanding work, Agent Martinez. 18 months undercover required exceptional courage. Martinez is FBI too? Hayes asks desperately. Special Agent Carlos Martinez, different from the murdered detective. We use the name to honor our fallen agent. Federal prosecutors arrive with indictments. RICO charges, money laundering, terrorism, each carrying decades of federal prison. Detective Wilson, Prosecutor Walsh announces, you're charged with assault on a federal officer, kidnapping, terrorism, life imprisonment without parole. Wilson breaks down. I have a family, kids in college. You destroyed everything when you became a criminal wearing a badge, Brian responds coldly. The media arrives. CNN, FBI press officers. Headlines explode. FBI dismantles massive police corruption. Rodriguez makes one desperate attempt. Davis, we can deal. Testify against higher casino corruption. You had 18 months to choose justice. Federal prosecution proceeds without deals. Federal agents escort prisoners to armored transport. No local cells where corrupt colleagues might help. As Rodriguez is loaded, he calls out, how long were you planning this? 3 years, since Detective Carlos Martinez reported casino corruption before his murder. The convoy departs. Brian coordinates final evidence collection. Sarah approaches with statistics. 47 arrests, $2.3 million seized, 18 months of evidence. Brian looks across Las Vegas's glittering lights. Federal law enforcement doesn't negotiate with corruption. We eliminate it. Justice served with federal precision. 6 months later, the federal court delivers final verdicts. Judge Patricia Morrison's voice echoes through the packed courtroom. Captain Miguel Rodriguez, life imprisonment without parole. Detective Frank Wilson, life imprisonment without parole. Brian observes from the gallery. Mrs. Patterson and Henderson's neighbors fill several rows. The quiet consultant who watered his lawn revealed himself as the federal officer who cleaned their community. Outside the courthouse, reporters surround Brian. Division Chief Davis, what message does Operation Clean Sweep send? Brian adjusts his federal credentials with quiet authority. Some doors shouldn't be kicked down. Federal justice reaches everyone, regardless of badge or uniform. The same words from that midnight raid, now spoken from federal authority instead of suburban vulnerability. His phone buzzes with Emma's text. Dad, I saw the news. I'm proud you catch bad guys. Emma knows the truth now. Her father doesn't fix computers, he fixes corruption. Brian drives through Henderson past his former surveillance house. New residents live there now, a real technology consultant. The neighborhood has returned to genuine peace. At FBI headquarters, Sarah Johnson briefs emerging cases. Chicago PD shows similar corruption patterns. Assign undercover assets, 18-month surveillance operation, Brian orders. Federal patience continues. In federal prison, Rodriguez stares through barred windows. No casino money, no union protection, just decades of federal time. Wilson shares a neighboring cell, pension forfeited, family destroyed by his choices. Brian returns to his apartment, legitimate federal housing. His refrigerator displays Emma's photos next to federal commendations. Some doors hide federal badges. 18 months of patient investigation reveals more corruption than dramatic confrontations. Tonight, Brian sleeps peacefully. Tomorrow, he investigates the next corruption network. Federal justice never rests. Share your thoughts on police accountability in the comments. Subscribe for more federal justice stories. Corruption exists everywhere, but so do agents ready to expose it.
A black voice is uncut. We don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.